Welcome to the Untitled Podcast Show, where Thomas and I talk about untitled things.
It's episode 3. This is how you signal 3 in all the world's
Except
cultures.
the U.S. worlds.
Yes.
Okay.
As far as I know.
Mm-hmm. So what is happening what happened this week in Custom Chaos?
Hello. Right to it. Well, we watched So I Married an Axe Murderer the other day, which was a fantastic movie. What do you think about Mike Myers' portrayal as his own father in that movie?
Actually, that was the best part of what that entire movie was about. Everybody else, meh.
Okay, all right. So we're going to get...
Can we just talk about what happened this week? Can we? I know that happened, but nobody cares.
All right. So what happened earlier this week, we released Tainted Grail, episode 2. Mm-hmm. I keep doing things like that.
That's fine. So why is it taking you so long to release? When was episode 1? How long between that and episode 2?
30 days between the 2 episodes.
Because?
We were doing other things, learning how to stream remotely. Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff got in the way of doing that. It also takes a lot of work in post on those particular episodes. Mm-hmm. Every time somebody takes damage or heals, it's a new document. It's a new image that we make to load into the edit system. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of work.
So like how many hours to shoot one episode to edit to what's the actual total runtime?
It's like 4 hours to shoot an episode if we're doing well. We played chapter 1 and chapter 2. We didn't finish chapter 2 the first time we played it. We were about 6 hours in and we're like, we gotta stop. This is just awful. So we replayed chapter 1 and chapter 2. We actually did worse the second time that we actually filmed. And then chapter 2, we did better. Mm-hmm. It was an hour and 15 minutes or so, or an hour and a half, and we were really surprised. Oh my God, we're done already? So we have, spoiler, we have found the Holy Grail. It is Camelot. So Tainted Grail.
Okay, I was like, I didn't know the point of the game.
So Tainted Grail
I thought it was just about minis.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Tainted Grail is the story of an alternate universe Camelot, where these menhir statues are keeping the weirdness at bay. And the statues are going dark. So actual heroes left your villages to find out what happened and didn't come back. So then it's left to the players, who all have issues, to go out and...
Are you talking about therapy issues?
The characters have issues. I'm sure the players do too.
What kind of issues? When you say issues, you make it sound like they need to go to therapy.
Well, yes, they do. In the letter that your mentor has left you, it says, "We know you've got issues, but you're all that, since we didn't come back, you're all that can do."
You're using the word heroes pretty loosely.
Yeah. So, for instance, my character, who's not a simple farmer, he requires one more magic to light a menhir. Mm-hmm. And he has apparently anger issues or something like that.
Cool. Okay, got it. So it is legit therapy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a therapy segment where it's like...
There's not.
You're like, okay, I've done my thing. I go home, eat, take a nap, go to therapy.
Kind of, yes. Actually, there is that mechanic in there, because when you eat and rest, you lose terror, which is, one of the characters, Bior, he actually has an open wound that just won't heal. Like, that's his issue. He's got an open wound that won't heal.
Okay.
Others are mental.
Okay. Is there some play acting in this, or is it just struggling through the game?
It is pretty much struggling through the game. You should go watch it. It's great. It raised a lot of money on Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. So it must be good.
Yeah. We'll see. Okay, so what else happened this week? Was that it? We played some games.
Yeah, we played some games. Carbon 2185.
What did I do this time that was dumb?
Well, last time you impaled people with a forklift.
That's what they're for.
Yeah. Okay. And this time we entertained some gang members as we stormed a rival gang.
Okay.
Through the roof. There are way too many moniums involved, right? There are more moniums than you can shake a cred stick at.
Well, I thought that was the whole point of the future, is that, there's the humans and then there's the synths.
Could we get synths that were not based on Aaron? That would be ideal.
That'd be less creepy.
If that
anyway.
could happen.
All right. Anything else happen?
So we are doing that. Carbon 2185 is coming up. We have just on Chaos Agents, our Tuesday D&D show, we have finished one of the characters' major arcs. So Remy the Fox is the pirate turned bounty hunter halfling who, way back in Waterdeep, ran into his a mutinous first mate on his ship. So Remy was on a ship. He loved the captain. There was the first mate mutinied, and he thought he didn't know what happened to his former captain, Barden Thorn. Turns out he was still alive, and he was in Saltmarsh. So they have been traveling for 30 episodes.
Holy cow.
30 sessions. We've interspersed some of Aaron's story into this as well. Ruckus, I should say. So Ruckus, Uzo, and Remy's story have all been happening.
Okay.
As we've gone through to where we are now. We have just finished up Remy's story. They have saved Barden Thorn, and they spent the last episode getting high and eating cookies.
Cool. Like you do. Like you do for any successful victory.
420 is coming up, everybody. So,
Get your cookies out.
So we are, in fact, this is probably released on 420 or the day after.
Okay. Anyway, so what's to look forward to next
What
week?
is to look forward to is we are going to, they're still going to be at Saltmarsh. They're waiting for their ship to arrive. Their ship to arrive. And then they need to make for Baldur's Gate.
Okay.
Where Ruckus has a destiny.
Sure.
A dinkt, maybe.
Okay.
A revenge. He is going to go and revenge his family.
Revenge? How about avenge?
Avenge, yes.
Revenge his family. Motherfuckers, what did you do to me? Why am I a mess?
All right, I'm going to make his family still alive. They made up the whole thing just to get Ruckus out of the house because they couldn't stand him anymore.
Hey. Just saying. Anyway, so is it the Baldur's Gate that we all know and hate, or is it a different Baldur's Gate?
So it is Baldur's Gate.
The original, what was the original module called? I can't
Murder
remember.
in Baldur's Gate.
That's it, yeah.
So Baldur's Gate has changed a little bit since then. The leader of the Flaming Fist has become the basically Lord of Baldur's Gate. So basically the events and murders of Murder in Baldur's Gate have concluded, and it's been updated for where we are now.
Okay.
So it is still a terrible place. It is still, the main...
The factions are still there.
Yes, the main city and all the nobles, and, you, unless you're a noble, you can't be in upper city unless, you've got like a token or a special permission to be there. So it's going to be a terrible place. Should be fun. We are pulling some things from Waterdeep Dragon Heist from Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus to put together and throw some fun stuff at them.
Cool. Okay. So anything else this week? Let's look at our show notes. Nah, I don't think so.
That is it.
Yep. All right. So is it time for the Wick?
It's time for the Wick.
Oh, that's right. Different music this time. Sorry. All right. I'm going to let you talk about the first Kickstarter that you were telling me about that I was like, sure, sounds fun.
So I think, with Kickstarters, you're always looking for what are the anomalies, right? So what are the big things that are hitting? And this one is Ankh, Gods of Egypt.
Well, why are you looking for it, just out of curiosity? Because I kind of assume that when people I know who buy a lot of Kickstarter games, eventually this game will become mass-produced somewhere. Like, I feel like the big games won't just sit there in Kickstarter, where if you don't get it, you're never getting it. Like it was a Kickstarter, it's never going to happen.
Right. So Tainted Grail is like that. So Tainted Grail, they say, is not coming to retail.
Okay. Because?
I don't know.
All right.
Just not in the U.S. They have other Like they sell the rights to other languages, to other publishers in those countries, and they might bring them to retail.
Got it. And I understand that the UK, anyway, long story short, but their distribution model is different than ours. All right, got it. So that's why I usually don't worry about these big ones that everybody gets excited about. But why don't you go ahead and talk about Ankh, Gods of Egypt?
So this is the third in a series of games with a similar theme and
structure?
Mechanics,
Okay.
So in the other ones, you were playing warlords or other things, but this one you're playing gods. So you are each a god of Egypt trying to become the only god of Egypt. So it is a very, I mean, it's very interesting, in the fact that it's over $1 million.
Yep, right now it's, in fact, before we started this video, it was at 1.25. Now it's at 1.251. It's like, okay, so it just went up like $1,000 and 7 backers since how many minutes?
Exactly. So that is an interesting thing, is when you are looking at a Kickstarter and watching it go up and go up, it's an interesting thing to
every
see.
time the page refreshes. So what draws people into this genre, or this who am I looking for here? Who does this, by the way?
So this is Come On Games.
Okay, and so with the trilogy, is it something that people are just anticipating because it's Come On Games?
I believe so. I mean, it's not. I don't know if it's not like a direct sequel, but it is like the conclusion of the story. It is what drew me to this is the actual Kickstarter campaign itself. The original video. Maybe we should watch that video.
Okay.
And then talk about it.
All right, let's watch that video.
Well, that was a Kickstarter video that didn't tell us anything about the actual gameplay or what it was about.
I feel like that's what they're all sort of looking like these days, but anyway.
Yeah. So, again, Rising Sun, Blood Rage, those are the two games that have come out before. Ezra mentioned this game to us when we were, in between shooting or recording or streaming or whatever it is we do on Saturdays.
Yep, streaming.
He mentioned that this game was coming out and it was a sequel to these, and he had a lot of fun playing those games.
Well, and I do see Rising Sun in game stores.
Yeah.
So it's, some of these are actually available in the marketplace. But anyway, so anything else about this that you found interesting?
What I found interesting was, after watching the video, I'm like, well, okay, that didn't tell me anything. Like, I don't know anything about this. I see miniatures. That's what I see. Scrolling down the page, you actually finally get to some YouTube videos, which are interviews with Eric Lang, where he talks about what is the strategy, what is the gameplay, what are the miniatures, why did they make these, miniatures. I think that there is a big push, like big, huge Kickstarters for board games. They have like super detailed, interesting miniatures. And I think that's an interesting phenomena. I don't know, for me, I want to know what the gameplay is like. I don't care what the pieces are. I want to know if it's fun to play. And it seems Kickstarter is more about, look how awesome these minis are.
But it's kind of to counterpoint that, though, like how many board games do we not play anymore? Because after you're done with the game, or after you've kind of conquered the mechanic, is there anything else to bring you back? Where I think in this respect, I mean, what do you like? What's the minimum pledge here? $100? For $100, what else can you do after you've played this thing to death?
Right.
You can only play it so many times. Then what? You can play. Now you paint minis, so that gives you that one extra step, or that one extra thing that people could actually buy it for, market it with, bring you back into the game. Things like that. Things of that nature.
Yeah.
I mean, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I noticed that there was a game a couple of years ago that came out called Kingdom Death Monster. It was one of the
best name ever.
one of the first big minis Kickstarters. It was right now, if you want to buy Kingdom Death Monster, it's like $2,000. I don't need all of the minis and all the other stuff. And so, what is the game? What is a print and play version of that game that I can, because it's a story game and you're uncovering the story. That's what I'm playing the game for. I'm not playing the game for the miniatures. But that's just me, and apparently I am the odd person out. Because there are how many backers on?
Hold on, let's see what it went up to. Oh, one person literally since we watched the video. There's one more backer.
14,608 at the time of this recording.
They contributed about $250 to this.
And that is amazing for a Kickstarter. Maybe I need to rethink everything.
Rethink your whole entire life. Just be like, I'm going to kickstart something that costs $5 to make and ask for $1 million.
There we go. Ankh, God of War.
Yep. Retirement plan decided.
Apparently, it's a good game. So,
of which you've told me nothing about.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, exactly. You have to really dig down. The rule book is there, so you can actually download the rule book and read it and figure out how to play.
Cool.
All right, so I think you backed something.
Of course I did, because really that's all this segment is about, is me backing things and then telling you minutes before we start shooting it.
So what did you back now?
Woodworm dice?
Woodworm?
I'm sorry. Well, because
okay, I am starting a company called Woodworm. We're going to make custom tables, but they're going to be awful, just terrible tables.
They're going to have worms in it, like little wormholes. No, I'm sorry. WyrmWood dice. I want wood dice. I've kind of wanted wood dice for a while, and I don't know where. Oh, yeah, that's right. I was looking at the games that you wanted to talk about, and then I just stumbled on this. Like, all of a sudden, I opened Kickstarter again, and it's like, Amy, look at this, because it knows how I like to buy. So, again, they were looking originally for... Oh, in fact, I think this actually launched, 3 days ago?
Yeah.
And they have completely funded. Almost everything is out, so you can't do most of the other pledges. And so they have 26 days to go. They're at almost 6,500 people. They're at 800,000. And so, yeah, if I just scroll down this, it's like, so there are a couple things where you can do a limited time only, like just $5 to pledge or any number to pledge, $26 to pledge. Then you get like up to the $1,500 for like a tungsten giant D20 that's like the size of your head. And then all gone is literally everything else.
Wow.
Yeah, everything else is gone.
And there's some celebrities that are designing dice for this.
Okay, let's air quote celebrities. I mean, if you're on the internet, whatever.
I noticed that they did not contact us. I'm just saying.
Which is, again, internet celebrity.
So we don't even have quotes. We're just quotes.
No.
We are.
No, you're just like, can you scroll down? You're a celebrity in your head. Anyway, so they did all of it. I'm going to read this from the notes here. So they did gemstone glass, which now that I look at it, I kind of want the glass ones instead. They do resin dice, and they do wood dice, which is kind of originally what I wanted, was the wood dice. And then they do a couple dice sets from some of the people who work at the company, like Bobby and Chris Burnett. And then they do Poly Dice, which is their community manager. And then also I saw... should have put it 2 and 2 together, but I saw both Satine Phoenix and Matthew Lillard from Beatles and Grimm talk about dice that were quote unquote coming up. And then I also saw Ginny D say, I designed dice, and just didn't sort of put that together. Right. And so that's been kind of all over Twitter, like 2 weeks ago, maybe? And so this was, like I said, announced last week. So there are a couple different, in fact, if you look at the page, there are a lot of different dice that you can choose from. None of them are cheap. Like, the next set of dice up is like $85. I'm like, ugh, man alive. Yep.
Wow.
But the cool thing about this one, and again, I think it was kind of cool at the start, but now that I'm kind of thinking through it, I'm just like, well, why do you need this? They talk about variant dice. So I'm going to scroll down to the variant dice here. And so
what is a high variant dice?
Okay, so a high variant dice is essentially where you're looking for more low rolls and more high rolls, but your average roll based on the sides of dice are still the same. So actually, I would rather have us watch that video than the beauty video, because literally, if you watch the video at the top of their page here, there's like 2.5 or 2 minutes and 15 seconds of just beauty shots of dice being bounced around and stuff. And literally, Doug and the other guy come on, and they're just like, so that told us nothing about the product. I mean, literally, that video is like, that was a bunch of beauty shots, and we're actually now here to tell you for the next 2.5 minutes actually what this is about.
So they kind of got it.
Yeah, they totally get it. They totally get sarcastically that these videos are bullshit.
It 2 minutes too long.
Oh yeah, everything is way too long. So let's look at the video on deep dive on the high variant dice.
Fabrice, do you understand high variance?
I still don't understand. No.
Okay, great.
Here's how a high variance die works. So this is a standard number array on a D6, okay? Average on this is 3.5, right? So if you add it up, oh, I don't like that color, 3.5. What if we wanted to increase the chances of really good rolls and really bad rolls equally so it's still a fair die? Is I could add 1 to the 5, minus 1 from the 2, and so then we end up with 1, 1, 3, 4, 6, 6. Again, the average is the same. If you were to roll a high variance die or a normal die, say 100 times, and look at the average roll, it's the same. It's fair. It's just the high variance is giving bigger hits and bigger misses, right?
Things are pushed to the extreme.
It's as if we've increased the variance. On the first video we did, I don't know if I really got across that. We're gonna do it across every single die. So D4, D8, D10, the percentile, D12, D20, any die can be high variance, and in this campaign, you can upgrade a single D20 to be high variance. You can get your whole set high variance. You can get 3D6 high variance. High variance D20, I think, is going to be the most this is going to be the most pledged for item in the campaign. The D20 is going to have, because this is what people are going to care about, it's going to have 3 20s.
Yep.
Okay? It's going to have 3 1s. And then it's going to have double 19, double 18, double 2, and double 3. Right? So the numbers you will not be able to roll are the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So from 7 to 14, that is gone. There is no middle ground.
How did we figure out the placement?
You know what we did? We took a normal D20,
Yeah.
or with all these dice, you take the normal die, you see where, say, the 5 was, you turn the 5 into a 6. You look where the 2 was, you turn the 2 into a 1.
So
They
the
did it.
20.
So this would be
20s are where the 20 was, where the 19 was, where the 18
Yeah.
was. You got your 20 here, 20 here, and then 20 over here. And there are your ones. Ready to betray you. Where do you think you could strike the most fear in your players?
your halfling assassin is trying to snipe the Duke with like a light crossbow, but like it's in a crowded situation and you have one shot. And the Duke is standing directly next to the person you're trying to save or something. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and then you request, you say, hey, Dungeon Master, can I use the high variance? And you know you're either gonna hit the Duke or the person you're trying to save. It's like you're gonna get the hostage or the hostage taker.
Yeah.
When you have a situation where like there's a best case scenario and a worst case scenario and you're on a fucking tightrope.
Yeah.
The razor's edge.
We've been talking about like, oh, we have to request and ask the DM's permission to be able to use it.
Yeah.
I feel like there are gonna be a lot of DMs that get really creative in how they use high variance dice for the players. Like, I think of a scenario where you arrive in these enchanted woods where maybe magic is influencing certain things, and you're like, oh, well, we're here, you can only roll these dice in combat, or something like that.
Also thought that what could be interesting is if you were a player, I'm making a new character, I'm making Grub the Barbarian. Grub, sure. You're making this like, that's not aggressive enough. Skull Splitter,
Wow, you really went the other way. Grub, let's meet in the middle. His name's Skull.
There we go. Okay, so you've made your Skull. So you've made your Barbarian Skull. You're like, can I just do this whole character high variance?
Yeah.
The entire time I am just high variance. I am either smashing this person or I'm smashing something I'm not supposed to be smashing.
Yeah.
Right? Like there is no middle ground.
Yeah.
Right? Like just pure chaos.
Okay. So what did you think about the concept behind high variance? So at first when I read it, I thought, oh, how are they weighting the dice?
Right.
Like I thought it was a regular D20 and that you weighted towards, 1s or
The
20s.
extremes, yeah.
But it looks like they've essentially just taken out, what is it, like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and replaced those with 1s, 2s, 3s, 18, 19s, and 20s.
Yeah.
At least on a D20.
I don't know if I need more.
Trouble?
Yeah. I mean, players' dice around the table already are you can't see some of them when they roll. Mm-hmm.
What? I can't see some of them sometimes either. I'm just guessing if that's a 17 or a 13 because it all looks the same at some point.
So I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where why not go further then? Why not just flip a coin?
Well,
and just be like, oh, you either die or you succeed.
Well, it's not about dying or succeeding. It's about hitting and missing. Like there is another video that I'll link to in the comments here about how hit points are bullshit, essentially, is the summation of it. And the fact that if you're going to coup de grace a sleeping or somebody who's laying on the ground and you're going to sneak up and be quiet and slit their throat, there's no middle ground with slitting somebody's throat. You either do it or you don't.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're right. It's a flip of a coin or it's a percentile dice. You shouldn't have to sneak up, slit somebody's throat, and then stab them for the next 5 turns until they actually die. Like that's pretty decisive as far as how you're going to like deal with something in combat.
Yeah, and this came up on Chaos Agents when Uzo went to coup de grace a bound captive person. And he stabbed him for a minute.
Did he miss his original roll, though?
No, he hit it.
Okay. And what was he going to do?
He was going to slit his throat. Or actually, he's going to stab him through the back of the chest.
Okay.
But then, so he hit, and then he did damage, and it was, okay, but he's got 65 hit points. So you're going to spend the next, 10 rounds doing D6 hit points to him.
Which honestly I think is a huge waste of time because the question is, did he get through the armor in order to pierce the heart or a major artery in order to kill it? Like, let's add some realism to it. And I understand that that's why Ezra doesn't like D&D because it really takes some of the mechanics out of it. Right. And in fact, that's why I don't like playing some of this stuff where it's just like, okay, and you keep shooting at the person and they keep coming at you. It's like, this isn't a horror movie. If you are going to shoot someone in an RPG, you should either like wound them or kill them. That's kind of how, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of ambiguity.
Hit points are meant to represent the wearing down of your
the
body,
resiliency.
not the oh, you're hit, therefore you've got blood splattering out over, but oh, you're hit and you banged your knee. But that's going to cause you to slow down a little bit. But I agree. We've moved to there is coup de grace, but it's now for both NPCs and PCs. So the bad guys can do it and the good guys can do it. I don't know who is who in my game. The NPCs, the bad guys, are the good guys in my game. I'll just say that.
The villagers, the bartenders, the good guy in your game.
No, they're not. They're awful people.
The bartenders usually.
Yes.
The innkeeper's usually the good guy in any game. Anyway.
So I agree that there is the hit points thing is a big weird issue. The variant dice, I don't know. I mean,
why not just do a percentile?
Yeah.
Why not just do like we talked about, it's you either at 10 your boat is sinking and at 20 your boat is sailing. You know what I mean? It's 10 or less, 10 or above. Like it's a pass fail.
So I don't know. I don't know if we need it. It's going to be huge because it's WyrmWood. It's going to be $1 million Kickstarter. Do I need them? I don't know.
Really? Because I was going to get one.
All right. Get one. Yeah. But then doesn't everyone at the table need one?
No, not necessarily, because like you saw in the video, you could design a character like that, which again, I kind of feel like the dice takes away some of the imagination in the fact that it's like, okay, so if I'm going to roll a character with this dice, I could just roll the character and be like, look, you're going to get a 9 in intelligence or a 9 in charisma or a 9 in something or an 8 or a 7 or, something where you're not incapacitated, but just hinder that. Like you could actually almost do a pseudo point buy where it's like, I'm going to take some, in fact, you could just do point buy, and just be like, I'm going to be really stellar in these 2 things and really terrible in these 3 things and average in the other one and just go for it that way.
I think it's, here's what I think is that 5e is not balanced for those dice, right? So
because, how so?
So you've got a fighter subclass where you crit on 19 and 20.
Yeah.
So now you have a 20% chance every round to crit. It makes crits less important. And as a DM, I'm just going to have to up the hit points of the people to compensate for that. I don't think it doesn't change, in my opinion, it doesn't change the game any. And in fact, it makes natural 20s and natural 1s less important. by having more of them. That's my take on it.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's fine. I think it's, again, what we talked about last week with like the story cards and things like that. It just makes you think about something.
Right.
Just saying, am I going to play something that is extreme opposites? Am I open to, instead of like only getting something bad on a 3, do I want to work with my DM and just be like, look, if I rolled a 3 or less, make it like it's a 1.
Right.
Make something terrible happen, make something epic happen, Because again, you're right. And again, it kind of goes back to, are we playing combat to be a little bit more realistic, or is this just a war of attrition where, now Uzo's just stabbing somebody in the neck for 5 rounds in order to kill them when he should have technically killed them, on that first go around when he succeeded to sneak up on the guy and stab him in the heart.
Well, I mean, it's a huge Kickstarter. So I now know that Woodworm is going to have to come out with dice that are only the middles. There are no 20s, there are no 1s.
No, it's not like donuts and donut holes. It doesn't work like that.
It is only the middle, like, averages.
Ooh, donut holes.
I mean,
I'm thinking about donut holes right now.
When I take hit points, I just take the average. You know what? Let me just take the average. It's easier. I don't want to risk getting a 1, because that's happened to me 2 times in a row on character levels. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, great. I've just spent 4 months with 15, 16, and 17 hit points. I'm like, I just need to take the average and be done with it. So Woodworm, we're coming out with dice with only 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Add the 7 in there, the 13, the 14s.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. So we've ranted, and they've gotten another $1,000 while we've been doing rants.
Nice. Awesome.
Cool. Who's next? There
is another Kickstarter that one of us backed.
Oh, good to know. How much did you spend on that one?
30 euros.
Okay.
Which in today's was $33. Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't
10 years ago, it might have been 4 million.
Yeah, it doesn't charge until it ships, so I don't have to worry about that.
So this is 3D printable fantasy props. Mm-hmm. So if you've seen our show, you've seen us do 3D printing maps and everything, and you will notice that they are just kind of the maps. It's better than drawing out on a mat, and having something that gives you a little bit more.
So kind of like this?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, that is a 3D printable prop.
All right, so I see sacks, boxes, and barrels. The things that everybody has in their house.
So these are not from the Kickstarter. This Kickstarter is from Rafael Dominguez. There are a whole bunch of cool things, like there are more barrels. There are crates. There are crates with blankets on top of them. There are
cute. Vases.
Vases.
Boxes. Buckets.
There are...
food.
There's food.
Scrolls.
There's fire. There's fire pits. Nice.
There's
skull in a book.
Ooh,
treasure chests. Weapon racks. These are a lot of the stretch goals. Mm-hmm. There are 3D gifts, coffins, fire pits. So
basically, what you're telling me is this is a dollhouse for boys.
I'm sorry. What?
Was your gulping too loud to hear me insult you? This is you printing your dollhouse for boys.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And you know what?
Or girls or anybody. I'm not saying that that's sexist, but I'm just saying as when I was a kid, if I had a brother, I don't think my parents would have given him a dollhouse. And honestly, I don't know why she gave us a dollhouse either, because neither of us played with it and it smelled bad, but I'll just let that go.
All right. So so these are really cool files. There are... I think we're going to get into 3D printing as our main topic in a little bit.
Oh, I thought you meant like in general. I was like, I am eyeballs deep in 3D printing right now. What do you mean get into it?
Okay, so I backed this Kickstarter. There are almost always 3D printed STL file Kickstarters going on. So you can always get miniatures. You can always get stuff. We Kickstarted 2 other things.
Yeah, who
maybe
are
3.
they? Because I keep getting emails and I'm like, I don't delete.
So,
I can't.
Printable Scenery was one that we Kickstarted. We did the Chlorhaven, which
means nothing to me.
Well, so that was this. This is the Goblin Grotto underneath Chlorhaven.
Yeah.
So this is sort of an S tunnel, painted. Also, so Chlorhaven is just kind of a town. This is something too that we kickstarted. This is a shop front. There's like garlic and food and barrels.
Oh yeah, that's right. We were talking one day about like who's got the ham out in front. Never mind. The ham in the front.
There's a ham on. So this is a Kickstarter. They're always out there. You can also get all this stuff free. I mean, not all of this stuff free, but you can get files for free.
So was stuff like this free?
It was.
Okay.
In fact, why don't we wrap up the wick?
Sure.
So go. There's no video for this, so just go check it out. The link is down below. Let's talk about
Baby bookshelves.
3D printing.
All right. So tell me, why has this dominated an entire room in the office? Please do tell.
Well, for the experience, for the immersive experiences this provides the players and the viewers.
I thought it was for the experience of it going ree, ree, ree all night long.
And then when there are multiple of them, it's it's kind of like the Carbon 2185 music at the beginning. It's very disconcerting.
I don't listen to the shows I play. No idea what you're talking about. Anyway.
All right. So, what is 3D printing? 3D printing is taking in this case, a plant-based plastic.
Is it really? I hope so.
So PLA is plant-based. It is obviously a chemical compound of some sort, and who knows? It's not safe to eat, so don't.
Well, yeah, usually plastic has petroleum in it.
Yes.
So there's that.
So it comes on spools, and you build layer by layer, you build it up into objects and things.
Is it recyclable? So just saying that one day when I kill you in your sleep, I can just melt all this down and send it back to somebody.
So, yes, technically you could melt all of this stuff
I like how you
down.
just get right past the kill you in your sleep part.
Yeah. It's recorded. So detective, refer to this episode.
Refer to episode 3.
Detective James. So yes, you could actually melt this stuff down, and they actually have machines that let you do that.
Okay.
So often 3D printing creates failures.
Yeah. A
So
lot.
that's typically what those are for, is to melt down your failures into reusable filament. But you could melt all this stuff down as well. So that is, and that's FDM printing. Resin-based printing, lithography kind of, is taking liquid resin, hitting it with a UV light, and wherever the light hits, it solidifies. So you, much the same way, you're building up layers, but you have an LCD or a laser hitting the resin and curing it. And that is a lot finer of detail and more expensive.
And it takes longer.
Yeah. It depends.
Well, for the same size object.
Correct. Yeah. For the same
Yes.
size object, definitely would take longer. So I think let's start with kind of the basic stuff that we are doing and what it looks like. So
Yeah, it's a floor. It's a
floor.
parquet floor. I've seen them before.
it is a floor, and this is a different floor. This is part of Chlorhaven, unpainted. So it prints supports in there, and you can use clips to put them together. So this is open lock. There are a number of different kind of connectors out there. There's Dragon Lock. There is Warlock now from WizKids. And then they have Warlock to open lock and Warlock to Dragon Lock. So you can use their stuff with stuff that you already have.
That's cool. So that you don't have to stick with one brand. You can mix and match different things and actually build different floors.
Right. And there are hundreds of people that are making free files for you to download on Thingiverse or Yegi to, print whatever you need. So this floor and these walls are from Masterworks, which is Devin Jones. All of his stuff is for free on Thingiverse. He's got so much stuff there. You can download it. He has a Patreon that you can support him at as well. Just, the breadth of stuff that he has, that he's created, that he has provided to us for free is just amazing.
So to get into 3D printing, so it's a device plus the spool of plastic.
Right.
How much are each of those things?
So, a very good printer is the Creality Ender 3. There is an Ender 5. There is a CR10, so, they get more. But the Ender 3 is their entry-level model. It is typically $250. So it's not super expensive. And in fact, as big sales come up, you can get them for as low as $150. So last Thanksgiving, for instance, we went from one Ender 3 to 3 Ender 3s because it was like super discounted sale, $150. It's hard to pass that up. We actually had a different printer that we started off with called the Monoprice Maker Select Plus. And we used it, and then the main board died. And to replace the main board was $100. And I was like, did the math of like, do I want a better printer for $200 or fix this one that's not great for $100? So that's how we moved to the Ender 3. It's the standard printer.
How much, so I see on Amazon you get those spools of plastic.
Yes.
How big, like how much plastic is in a spool, and then how much can you actually print from that spool? So like economic wise, at some point, how much is it to buy this versus how much is it to print it is kind of what I'm trying to suss out here.
So this piece here is probably 80 cents worth of filament.
Okay.
There's way more paint cost in this. I mean, I'm not using miniature paint. I'm using, paint that I get in a thing for 99 cents at Joann Fabrics. Don't use your miniatures paint on it because it's not really necessary. You might for stuff like this where there is a lot of detail and to make it look better, but if you have big pieces, just cheap paint. Especially for us, it has to look good on camera. It doesn't actually have to look good in person.
Yep, and the level of detail is, something that you don't always pick up on camera because you're not close in on it.
Right. So
using a macro.
So under normal circumstances, not in the Amazon stop fulfilling unnecessary things, which, we can argue whether or not filament is necessary.
It's not.
No, okay.
It is necessary finishing painting some of these things.
Yeah, there are stacks and stacks and stacks of unpainted ones. So a filament for a 1 kilogram roll is $20 for the good stuff. That's Hatchbox PLA. That is what we use here for the most part. And
how much can you get? No, I would just want to know how much can you get out of that $20 worth of filament? Like what can you completely
So a
build?
kilogram. So this is, we could actually weigh this. This is 300 grams. So you could do the math on, 1,000. No, this is not 300 grams. This must be, I don't know. This is nothing. We should weigh it. But this is cheap. It's super cheap. So,
so technically
these are hollow too. There is a lattice work pattern on the inside for support, but these are hollow. So it's not like a solid chunk. They're also lightweight. It's super cheap. Purchasing these, if you were to buy, if somebody else printed this and was selling it to you, they'd probably charge $12 for this.
Painted or unpainted? I'm assuming unpainted.
Probably unpainted, yeah. And it takes time. So that's where the real cost comes in. This is 12 hours to print. So while it's cheap, it's time consuming.
Yep, and if there is an error in it, you've now burnt how many hours
Right.
Until you have to go back, reprogram it, and do it again.
Actually, in this one, so you can print with lower quality. So this one, so I can see that I actually printed this one with a bigger layer height. So you see the ridges a little bit more. But this one, because of that layer height, printed in 6 hours.
Okay.
So the more detail you have, the longer it takes.
And so how do you, when you talk about getting, what are the file sizes, or what are the file types again?
So STL.
Yeah, that's it. STL files, how do you get those into a 3D printer? Like, you know what I mean? I'm assuming it's just like an SD card. Like, what is it
Right.
that goes into the side?
So you need a slicer software. There are a number of free ones out there. So Creality makes Cura, which is the main slicing software for FDM filament printers. It will take your file and slice it and make G-code, which is what it sends to the printer for every single layer. It's like it is like a CNC machine, which is also G-code, which is it tells the print head where to start, how much filament to start spooling out, where to go, stop. So every time that the nozzle changes, it's a new command, and that software generates the G-code.
Got it. Okay.
With resin printing, we use software called I call it something else. It's called SheetUbox. I call it SheetUbox.
I understand exactly why you call it something else.
And it came with the Elegoo Mars resin printer that we have. That would do something like this, which is a higher detail miniature, unpainted, a little fragile.
But primarily, like, I've seen you print minis on it.
Yes,
more so
so
than anything
all
else.
of the GIF gunslingers and all of that was all printed on the printer. I still have some work to do to get the printer dialed in. So
why is that? I don't understand dialing in a printer.
Yeah, so with all of your settings, this is for both FDM and resin printers, default is not going to be the right for your specific hardware setup, because it is finicky. It is weird and finicky. So with the resin printer, it's, do you do 7 seconds or do you do 8 seconds on the LCD per layer? Do you, what are your different settings in that? And there's a lot of different variables to go through, and it's changing one setting, print it out, see what it looks like, change it again, and compare.
Okay, and do you just do that test like layer by layer, or do you let it go for like an hour and see what it looks like?
Yeah, it's like let it go for an hour, see all the how everything went.
Okay. What else about, like, if you were going to just start and just say, what is it that I want to start doing? Because obviously I'm assuming you need to have the printer and the filament and a pattern. That's kind of your three components. Yeah,
exactly. So if you want to start printing terrain, walls, we actually do full-size walls and half walls. And half walls we put when we're building out our maps so that the players can actually see
over the top.
Yeah. If you were at a table like this, you could do all big all normal size walls, but we sit 3 feet away from the map, so we need something with smaller walls. So I would recommend you get a Ender 3 from Creality and Hatchbox PLA. And once you do, search for Luke Hatfield, Ender 3, and watch all the videos. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. And who would be interested in doing 3D printing? I mean, some people are just interested in it just because it's on a surface level. I'm like, you mean I can make anything? Like, literally in my head, I'm like, I could make, spoons and forks and knives. I could make, just like functionally useful things in a household or in, for myself. But, with like this stuff, why are people so into it?
I think anybody who wants a dollhouse should get one.
You can tell my attitude about this because I neither want a dollhouse nor are super concerned about like, oh, that wall is cool. Not my thing.
So one of the things that is not terrain that we've been printing is I've been designing a filter holder for our Quasar Science LED tubes.
Okay, in human speak, hang on, let me do this. In human speak, those are lights that you use to light a film set, and
so they are. If you think about a fluorescent tube,
it's a tube, yeah.
It's that, but it has an LED strip inside of it, and it shoots light everywhere. And it's bright, and so I've made clips that snap onto it, and then you can put a piece of plastic in there to block the light from spilling where you don't want it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are people, terrain is just a small subset of what 3D printers are doing. Most of them are doing, like, superhero statues and busts.
Okay.
It seems like a big portion of it.
To people who are like, I care nothing for superheroes.
Yeah, exactly. But we do, and there's...
Oh, look, the top to my dollhouse that I won't ever use or care about. It's an amazing paint job, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody spent, I don't know, one afternoon doing that.
It's not finished.
Nope. No, it's not, because you know what?
Yeah. And this is 4 pieces that were printed and glued together to make. This was the top of Barden Thorne's tavern, of his 3-story tavern that there was going to be a huge fight in that they're not doing because we're remote.
Yeah.
And
you could have still done it and just been like, and here, this is what it looks like.
Yes. So, so that was, this will be used for other dollhouses.
Cool.
And encounters in dollhouses. What if we did an RPG where you were, like the Toy Story RPG, where you're toys in a dollhouse?
You could just do My Little Pony.
Okay.
Anyway. Okay, so is there anything else that we didn't cover about some of the basics of 3D printing?
I don't think so. I think that's, there's a lot more that goes into... the fact that your printer is always down. You have to
is it generally that unreliable?
It isn't. But you do have maintenance to do. You have to clean the bed down or else it starts to stop sticking. So if dust gets on the bed, the filament doesn't stick and then it jams up and you have a big problem. That's one of the most common ones, or you get a clog. Yeah. So the filament is not always the best, right? So you could get a clog and then you have to pull the whole thing apart. So there are days where that's what it is. It's pulling the printer apart and cleaning and getting it working.
Okay. Well, I wish you the best of luck with your dollhouses and your little bits and tables and teacups and whatnot that you're going to make for your dollhouses.
Campfires and skulls with books.
Maybe if dollhouses looked like that when I was younger, we might have played with them. Probably not. That was an indoor sport. We weren't those kinds of kids. But anyway, so any other topics that we need to cover today?
I think that's it for today.
Okay, cool.
We're going to keep scouring hard drives for certain things.
Yeah, I'm gonna, you know what we need to do? Come up with a less expensive segment, because how much money have I spent on Kickstarter now? In 3 episodes.
We don't have to back all of the things that we talk about.
Well, but I kind of like Chris Haskin's idea, because at first I was like, oh, I see there's nothing available for WyrmWood. I'll throw you a couple bucks. Like, that's his philosophy. We should support other people in the industry. Now I'm like, oh, but if I'm interested enough to talk about it, I'm interested enough to buy it. Like, that's my problem, where I'm just like, some of the stuff, I'm like, yeah, it's interesting to everybody and it's really popular and we should talk about it. But some of the stuff that I actually talk about, it's like, it's just because I just bought it. Sorry.
So, okay. So we'll think about maybe we won't do every week a Kickstarter bit.
We'll see. Now it's been 3 weeks in a row? I'm probably at, let's not talk about how much money I've spent. The 2 weeks in a row, I've spent $50. Nope, never mind. I didn't spend. I spent more than that. Okay, this week I've only spent $31.
And I spent $33. Okay, so maybe we won't do the Kickstarter segment. Well, this week in ramen will really be our new segment.
Look at all the ramen I ate. It was amazing.
It was 39 cents for that thing of ramen.
Anyway, so let's wrap it up now that I've thought about where all my money is going lately. Is that it?
That's it. That's
Cool.
going to wrap it up for this episode.
Sweet.
I know that there are a number of people that we want to get on the interview docket. Mm-hmm. I have a gig
Good for you.
that is happening on 420.
Yep.
And that's kind of pushed doing interviews and a bunch of stuff back. And that'll
But
be...
we can talk about that gig a little bit more because that has a lot to do with internet
Yes.
streaming and things that Thomas and I do every day and struggle with. So there are some learnings and some interesting things that come out of that. So we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, so we'll talk about streaming because we stream now virtually.
Yeah, I literally sit looking out my bedroom window, streaming events that go out to 20,000 people, and I'm wearing a nice shirt on top and pajama bottoms now. So that's welcome to the new normal.
All right. So that's going to wrap it up
Yep.
for this time. We're going to come back at a later date next week.
Called next week.
Called next week.
All right, thanks.
See ya.